Good morning, everyone. Have you had your breakfast today? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. May I recommend something high in protein? You could do eggs, you could do sausage, you could do bacon, or if you were the tree swallow, you would have a nice high protein breakfast full of flying insects. So join me today as we showcase the wonderful glamour of the tree swallow. Tree swallows are gorgeous little birds. They're actually one of the first swallows that I learned how to identify when I was a child, spending a lot of time up at my grandmother's house after school. I would see tree swallows flying around her place along with violet-green swallows. Granny always used to say that if the swallows were swooping low to the ground, that it was going to rain very soon. Nowadays I know that swallows are swooping low to the ground to actually catch flying insects. But as a child, I always thought it was very interesting that we could learn a lot about the environment around us by watching the behavior of animals. And Granny's saying about the swallows was my first introduction to that. So I have all of my makeup ready to go for the tree swallow, and there's not that many colors that you have to use if you're going to recreate the tree swallow look on your own. They're a very elegantly simple bird. Their upper portions are this beautiful iridescent blue with maybe a little tint of green in there. And this contrasts wonderfully with their stark white undersides, with their chin and their belly. So if you're thinking elegant simplicity, tree swallow is the bird that embodies elegant simplicity. So we're going to start off by applying the base color for the tree swallow to capture that lovely dark iridescent blue. I'm going to start off by using MAC eyeshadow. It's called How Royal, and how royal indeed. You don't get much more royal than the elegant simplicity of the tree swallow. So I'll be using a small fluffy brush to apply this base color. And this is just gonna go all over the place. Well, all over the place meaning upper lids. Now, tree swallows are a migratory bird. They breed up in North America, in Canada, and the United States. But in the winter, they live the good swallow life down in the southern United States, Mexico, and Central America. Okay, the base blue is applied, and right now we're looking a little more 80s bad eyeshadow application than we are tree swallow. But we're not done yet. We still have to put on the finishing touches that will turn this from I'm 7 years old and broke into my mom's eyeshadow into the elegant simplicity that is the tree swallow. So to darken up this blue that we have right now and to add an iridescent shimmer to it, I'm going to be using the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette, and the specific color I'll be using in there is minks. I'll be applying that with a slightly more fluffy version of the fluffy brush. And we just want to layer it on gently so that we don't smudge off the nice base blue of the How Royal blue that I have on my eyelids right now. And I forgot to tap my brush off, so I've got all sorts of little flakies coming down on my face. I'll fix that later because these will smudge like nobody's business when I try to apply the white. But we won't worry about that quite yet. Now, tree swallows, they are an interesting swallow when it comes to nesting. They do not construct nests like we see with cliff swallows and barn swallows. They're not that crafty when it comes to building a nest out of mud and straw the way the barn swallows and the cliff swallows are. Tree swallows are cavity nesters, so they like to find holes in dead or living trees and use those for nests. So if you've ever seen the beak of a tree swallow, you'll notice that it's adorably tiny. Like, it's just this tiny little nubbin of a beak. So there's no way that a tree swallow is going to carve out its own nesting hole. It's just not going to happen. So what tree swallows do instead is they repurpose holes in trees that have been made naturally or that have been made by other birds. So it's not uncommon to find a tree swallow in a open stump, or open stumps aren't quite as protected from wind and rain in terms of a good nesting spot. So they'll often reuse old woodpecker nests and the nests that have been made by other cavity nesting birds. Okay, off camera, I cleaned up all of the powdered minks that ended up on my lower lids with a makeup wipe, because you want the colors of the tree swallow to be nice and crisp. We need that crisp white to contrast with the royal elegance of the dark iridescent blue. Now, I don't know about you, but I have had no luck with powdered white eyeshadows. So my go-to eyeshadow for applying white is a eye pencil, and I'm using the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil Crayon in Milk. And I'm going to use this to apply the crisp white underside look to the tree swallow. There is big competition for nesting cavities among birds that use them for the breeding season. And the tree swallow gets right into this competition, especially since they can't really carve out their own nesting cavities. So tree swallows are actually notorious for competing with mountain bluebirds for nest boxes that are put up specifically for mountain bluebirds. But that doesn't stop the tree swallow from moving on in and setting up shop. And although it can appear that tree swallows are taking up a lot of bluebird nest boxes, The nest boxes really only account for a very small percentage, like 2% of the global tree swallow populations. And human constructed nest boxes really can't keep up with the loss of tree swallows' natural nesting habitats. So some of the best places to find a tree swallow and their nesting grounds are open areas, because these are the areas that they can swoop around and find all of their flying insects that they like to eat and that they stuff into the tiny little beaks of their baby tree swallows. You can find tree swallows near open waterways. They like marshes, open ponds. They also like open fields that have a water source nearby. And unfortunately, these are also the same areas that are heavily impacted by pollutants. So anything that's going to impact the health of the waterways and the insect population that's in the area is going to have a negative impact on tree swallows. Once a tree swallow finds a suitable nest cavity, whether it's a natural cavity in a tree or a nest box set up for mountain bluebirds, it's the female that takes care of constructing the actual nest inside the cavity. The female can take anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks to construct the nest, and she typically constructs the nest with items that she finds from within about 100 meters of the nest cavity. And usually these materials are collected from the edge of whatever open waterway happens to be nearby. So they'll use all sorts of things for their nests. They'll use moss, they'll use little bits of garbage. There's been cellophane and other little bits of plastic found in tree swallow nests. They'll use animal hair, and basically they just weave this very elaborate little cup inside the nest cavity. So I'm all ready to go to stuff my face full of flying insects. So I think this is a really good time to go visit some tree swallow habitat and see if we can see any swooping around. Let's go. Okay, these are all the flying insects that tree swallows should be eating. We could use some more tree swallows here. All those little light dots that you see zipping around, those are mosquitoes. And the occasional deer fly. Thanks for joining me on the tree swallow adventure, and for joining me on my getting eaten alive by mosquitoes adventure. It's not much better in my front yard right now. As you can see, there are mosquitoes everywhere. And there's also my kitty cat. This is Maya. She's not facing the camera right now. She's too busy eating grass, but that's okay. She'll barf it up for me later. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I'll see you next time for our next Bird Glamour adventure.